the fourth thing I learned from Royce Gracie at the recent seminar in Dallas, Texas. The fourth thing I learned is you don't have to be stronger to beat a stronger opponent. Now, everyone has heard that before many times in their martial arts school and in their career. But until you've actually done it in a real fight, you don't actually believe it in your real life. Think about it. The UFC has weight classes, professional boxing has weight classes, wrestling has weight classes. Why? Because they don't think that a smaller and weaker person can beat up a bigger and stronger person. And you know they're usually right. But that is exactly why Helio Gracie started Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and why Jiu-Jitsu was invented that way in the first place. Helio was a very small, rather weak man. I think he was about 5'6" and weighed about 155 pounds. And yet he fought and defeated men who outweighed him by 50 to 150 pounds. He even challenged the world heavyweight boxing champion to a fight. In his last interview, shortly before he died, he told a reporter that he was unhappy that people think that if a man is bigger and stronger, he is going to beat you in a fight. He said he invented the techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to allow smaller, weaker men to be able to defeat larger, stronger men. And he and his sons and thousands of Jiu-Jitsu students are living proof that that actually works. In the first 3 UFC championships, there were no weight classes and no time limits. You fought anyone of any size until someone won. And this was the opportunity for the world to prove and find out that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu indeed would work against a smaller man beating a bigger man. Royce Gracie defeated men that were much larger, bigger, and stronger than him, and he subsequently even defeated Akebono, who was 6'8" and weighs 450 pounds. You can't get much bigger and stronger than someone than that. Akebono weighed 450 pounds, Royce Gracie weighed 170 pounds. Yet Master Gracie was able to defeat him. How and why? Techniques and confidence and years of actual fighting training experience. They proved to Royce that what he was learning worked. And if he simply remained calm and did the techniques right, he would defeat anyone in front of him, no matter their size or their strength. It is really a remarkable thing to see someone defeat someone who is much larger and bigger and stronger than them. And it is altogether different thing to actually do it. You can talk about smaller, weaker men defeating bigger and stronger men all day with your teacher. But until you actually start fighting bigger, stronger men and defeating them, you won't believe it in your real life. I have done this hundreds of times in class, teaching ground jiu-jitsu techniques and even stand-up fighting techniques in some fights. And it never stops amazing me when I beat up these bigger guys. How I do it is with technique and confidence. Technique that doesn't rely on being bigger and stronger, but being better trained and doing the moves exactly right to stop the bigger, stronger man. It doesn't do you any good to practice techniques that look great but don't work in the real street. It doesn't do you any good to work on moves that are flashy and don't work in the street. It doesn't help you if you can punch 10 times and kick 10 times in 20 seconds. It doesn't matter if you kick a man in the groin. That's what matters. Break his arm or destroy his knee. It doesn't matter if you can kick somebody 10 or 20 times in 10 seconds. What matters is if you can kick him in the groin or break his arm or snap his elbow. That proves to you what really works. What makes you defeat a bigger and stronger opponent without using size and strength and techniques that go against them is balance, coordination, joints, vital organs like eyes, ears, and throat and stuff. You can only weigh 100 pounds, but if you kick someone in the groin, they will not continue the fight. You can only weigh 100 pounds and be fighting a guy who weighs 300 pounds. But if you bend his 20-inch arm and snap his leg or snap his elbow, he will quit fighting. You can only weigh 100 pounds. But if you take your finger and stick it into his eye and poke his eye out, he'll stop fighting. And my friend, that is the secret to being a bigger and stronger man. You fight to win, not to impress. The reason we have weight classes, and several weight classes, one is it makes the fight legal, and that the fighters are trained equally. It makes the fight competitive. But the most important thing is that it makes the fight legal. And by that I mean it has rules. You can't punch him in the eyes. You can't snap his fingers. You can't kick him in the groin. You can't break his neck. If you could easily beat him, but the beating would result in permanent injury. You don't have a competitive fight league if you can't have a competitive fight league if you don't have rules and regulations. You won't have any fighters left after a few months, or a few fights if you do. If you allow him to kick and poke somebody's eyes out, your fighters are gone. Master Gracie knows he can defeat a much larger and stronger man because he's done it thousands of times in practice and in actual fights with no rules, no weight classes, and no size limits. If he has rules and regulations, time limits, he is greatly limiting his ability to win a fight. In the street, he does not have to abide by these rules, regulations, and time limits, and he always will win in the street. The techniques of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu are specifically made to work against bigger, stronger men because they attack the joints, they use balance, they use technique, they use movement, they use coordination, they use angles, and they use leverage to destroy the opponent's ability to continue to fight. They can break his elbow and he will quit. Or they can prove to him that they can break his elbow and he'll tap out and not want to fight anymore because he knows you can do it. They don't attack the eyes and the throat, but they do attack the joints, the necks, the shoulders, the breathing. They rely on stamina and technique to allow them to totally wear the opponent out and make him easy to defeat. If you make your opponent totally exhausted, they have no chance to win the fight. You can do what you want when you wear an opponent out. And that's the secret, and that's the number 4th thing that Royce Gracie taught me. You can beat someone who's bigger and stronger than you if you use technique, timing, coordination, and if you do it right. It doesn't matter what size you are. It matters what you know. That's the 4th thing we learned.